Welcome to Introduction to Economic Evaluation. This is an online introductory survey course. I am your instructor, Dagna Constenla, at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am an associate scientist in the Department of International Health and the Director of Economics and Finance at Johns Hopkins International Vaccine Access Center. I have over 20 years of experience in the global sector, conducting evaluation courses, including Economic Evaluation 1 and 2. These are courses that are taught on campus and are designed to develop basic competency in the methodology of economic evaluation. This year, I'm returning to lead the online class, and I am very excited about the opportunity to work with all of you and to welcome students from all over the world to this class. It's a really exciting cross-section of people who participate, and I'm looking forward to learning and interacting with you. Most of my research portfolio centers around the economics of infectious diseases and vaccine-preventable diseases, and in gaining a better understanding of the economics and financing of healthcare technologies in low and middle-income countries. I have contributed intellectually to a number of international scientific committees and peer-reviewed papers. This course is intended for a variety of students who are interested in using cost-effectiveness analysis to inform public health and health policy. This includes students in the Master in Health Administration program, students taking the web-based Master in Public Health, and other degree-seeking students looking for Introduction to Cost-Effectiveness Research. In particular, the course is designed for students who are interested in implementing findings of cost-effectiveness research in policy, those with an interest in healthcare financing, mainly in settings involving public health payers, where resource allocation decisions have to be made when deciding which among a variety of public health interventions are implemented, and for those looking for an introduction into the science and methods of cost-effectiveness research. In summary, the target audience for this class are you, the consumers, rather than the producers of economic evaluation. No background in microeconomics is needed to take this course. Although this is not a methods-driven course per se, we hope that by introducing you to peer-reviewed papers that focus on cost-effectiveness of healthcare programs and interventions, and by showing you state-of-the-art techniques in cost-effectiveness analysis, we will inspire you to study this field more, perhaps by taking an in-person class on site at the School of Public Health or at another institution, so that you can eventually conduct some of your own cost-effectiveness research. So what is cost-effectiveness research or economic evaluation? Broadly speaking, I think of this as a tool that can be used by policymakers to evaluate and inform resource allocation decisions. Imagine that you are the Minister of Health in a country and you have a fixed budget and a whole variety of interventions that you could implement to improve health in your country's population. You need a tool to evaluate which interventions are most productive in achieving the goal of population health. Cost-effectiveness analysis is designed to provide a systematic way of evaluating a portfolio of competing interventions and helping to inform resource allocation decisions. You can also think of cost-effectiveness analysis as a set of analytic techniques that can be used to model projected costs and outcomes of different health policies and interventions, so that you can compare the cost of different interventions to their projected outcomes in terms of population health, and choose the intervention that achieve the greatest health gains per dollar, or rather, unit of currency used to finance those interventions. To help you familiarize yourself with these topics and to engage your interest in applying cost-effectiveness analysis to policy, we are going to use a variety of teaching tools in this class. We'll have online lectures that introduce you to the principles of cost-effectiveness research. They are a little more theoretically oriented, but will provide a number of examples to help you understand key concepts, such as dominance, time horizons, discounting, all techniques that are commonly used in implementing and evaluating cost-effectiveness studies. A second key component of our teaching strategy is to get you to read and evaluate published cost-effectiveness studies. And we'll do this by having you read studies and evaluate them against a set of 19 criteria, or a checklist, which was developed to evaluate the quality of cost-effectiveness research. And so, we hope that by having you carefully read articles, you'll understand the strengths and limitations of various approaches to conducting cost-effectiveness analysis. And this will make you a good consumer of cost-effectiveness research, so that you can use it effectively in policy settings or perhaps later in your own research. The third component of our teaching strategy is to discuss research methods and assumptions used in cost-effectiveness studies. While the goal of this class is not to teach you how to do a cost-effectiveness analysis, I think evaluating published cost-effectiveness studies effectively really requires you to understand the methods that the authors use in their evaluations. And so, along with each homework assignment, I am going to review the methods that authors use to conduct a cost-effectiveness analysis. And I'm going to supplement that with a methods live talk, where I'll take an article and really drill down into the methods that authors use to conduct their analysis. That will also be a time for an interactive Q&A between you and I, so that we can discuss any outstanding questions you have about techniques that authors use in cost-effectiveness analysis, or just broad conceptual questions about the material that we are reviewing in this course. The first teaching tool that I mentioned is a series of online lectures led principally by Dr. Kevin Frick. Dr. Frick is an expert in cost-effectiveness research and a professor at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health and the Carey Business School. After you review each lecture, we encourage you to post ideas and questions on the online discussion board, both because it contributes toward your grade and because it really advances the quality of the class. I often find that when students ask questions of each other and help each other answer questions, it improves communication and learning and really makes the class a whole lot more fun. Now, this is a forum that I'll be engaged in quite actively, and I'll try to answer any of your particular technical questions within 24 hours. But I encourage you among yourselves to interact and ask questions and attempt to answer them as well. Also, to help you understand the lectures, we are going to post a few online quizzes that we would like you to attempt. We're not actually grading these quizzes, but we want you to sort of work through the ideas in the lectures and then implement them by testing your knowledge. And that would contribute to 7% of your grade. So for our second teaching tool, we will have you read and evaluate 3 recent studies in the cost-effectiveness field. Our goal is to be able to have you read and thoroughly evaluate the quality of the cost-effectiveness study against a checklist of 19 criteria, which was developed by experts in cost-effectiveness research. Once you've read and evaluated the study, you will be asked to develop a short presentation describing how the study meets the criterion that your group is assigned. We will discuss your responses during the live talk. So over the course, there are 3 individual written assignments that will contribute 75% of your grade. You can find those assignments and the accompanying readings on the online library. To help you complete the individual assignments, we will hold a live talk discussing the criteria that are the subject of the assignment before the due date. So for this live talk, I'm going to split the class up into small groups, and each group will be asked to evaluate the assigned reading for that live talk on one of the 17 criteria of 19 on the checklist. So we'll ask you to develop a short presentation that describes how this article satisfies, or perhaps does not satisfy, the criterion that your group is assigned. And then we'll come together and discuss your responses during the live talk. Last year, a number of students asked that we provide a practice economic evaluation to help you do the individual written assignments. And so this year, I've created a practice assignment where you will read a different cost-effectiveness study. The one I've chosen is titled Cost Effectiveness of a Community Integrated Home-Based Depression Intervention in Older African Americans. The practice assignment is available in the online library. You can read the study and evaluate my suggested responses to the individual criteria on the checklist. And by reviewing this practice assignment, I hope that you'll be able to understand what we're expecting from you in the individual written assignments. Of course, if there are questions specific to the individual written assignments that you have, you can continue to post those in the online discussion forum. But this practice assignment is meant to provide one more resource to help you understand the course content and our expectations for the homework assignments. So there are 4 live talks, and these live talks will be held on Thursday evenings. Live talks occur a few days before the individual written assignments are due, and there will be 3 assignments that will be due. This will give you an opportunity to think about the criteria on the individual written assignments, to ask questions that you may have, and then to take a stab at doing the individual written assignments after we have all met together during the live talk. Due dates will be posted in Course Plus. The live talks and the written assignments will cover the same set of criteria on the cost-effectiveness analysis. So the goal is that we'll review the criteria together during the live talk, and you will evaluate and submit your responses to a separate cost-effectiveness study for the individual assignment that is due a few days later. Participation of the live talks is highly encouraged. So while you're not required to attend a live talk, we do ask that you at least listen to a recording of the live talk afterward. So this helps to accommodate students with complex work schedules or those in other parts of the world who are not available when live talks are scheduled. Participating live is always helpful because it allows you to ask questions live and to present to your fellow students and interact with them in a way that is a little bit different from the online discussion board. I'll give you a separate set of written instructions for the 3rd assignment because I am going to allow you to rewrite your responses to criteria 1 through 12 if you were not satisfied with your individual grade. So stay tuned for more information on the requirements for assignment 3 and what components of it are required versus optional. In between the 2nd and 3rd live talks, I am going to host a methods live talk. No groups will present during the methods live talk. Instead, this will be a lecture during which I review a recent cost-effectiveness study, describe the methods that the authors used, and then hold a Q&A session with you to discuss methods and concepts in the class at a little bit more length. Just a few more words. I would recommend that you check out the website in Course Plus for schedule updates. I don't anticipate that there will be too many changes with the scheduled live talks and due dates for written assignments, but on occasion, there will be conflicts with other live talks that students are enrolled in. And so we try to accommodate those changes if possible. One final note, assignments 1 and 2 will always be due on Sunday evenings, while assignment 3 will be due on a Thursday evening. A few hours before the assignment is due, the TAs and I will be online on the online discussion forum a little bit more continuously to answer any logistical questions that you may have. However, we really ask and stress that the assignments need to be submitted on the date and time specified. I will make exceptions for students with family or health or other particular circumstances. But if you need an extension, I would ask that you request it at least 2 days before the due date of the assignment. Otherwise, I will generally not grant extensions. In terms of course grading, 18% of your grade comes from participation, including interaction on the online discussions forum. 7% from attempting online quizzes, and the remaining 75% comes from completing the 3 written assignments. Now, I mentioned this checklist of criteria for evaluating cost-effectiveness studies, and the following slides list the criteria that will be covered in each assignment and live talk. Live Talk 1 and Written Assignment 1 both cover cost-effectiveness criteria 1 through 6. In Live Talk 1 and Assignment 1, we'll ask you to evaluate a study and consider whether the authors clearly describe their study population, describe competing alternatives, implemented a well-defined research question, used an appropriate economic study design, chose an appropriate time horizon over which to count all costs and outcomes of the interventions being considered, and chose an appropriate perspective. For example, whether they adopted a societal perspective, the perspective of a public or private payer perspective, or some other perspective. Assignment 2 on Live Talk 2 will ask you to evaluate a cost-effectiveness study and to consider whether the researchers identified and used all relevant costs for each of the alternative interventions being evaluated, whether they measured and valued those costs appropriately, and whether they identified, measured, and valued outcomes appropriately. These topics are encompassed in criteria 7 through 12. And finally, Live Talk 3 and Assignment 3 will cover criteria 13 through 17, which are listed on the slide and include questions like, is an incremental analysis of costs and outcomes of alternatives performed? Are all future costs and outcomes discounted appropriately? Are all important variables appropriately subjected to sensitivity analysis? Does the conclusion follow from the data reported? Does the study discuss the generalizability of the results to other settings and patient-client groups? Between Live Talks 2 and 3, I will hold a methods live talk. This will be a lecture in which I will review a more sophisticated cost-effectiveness study than the ones that I've assigned for readings for this class. I am going to discuss the author's modeling approaches, in addition to some concepts such as discounting, time horizon, dominance, and sensitivity analysis. The reading for this live talk and the slides for the live talk will be available on the online library. This is a live talk that's more of a lecture, although you are invited to participate in a Q&A session that will follow the lecture. There will be no group presentation scheduled for this live talk. To help you understand the readings assigned for homework, I will make available for you a short background lecture on each article, which will be available in the online library under the Assignments tab. This background lecture provides some information about the article, some of the cost-effectiveness concepts that the authors used, and methods that you'll be learning about over the course of this class. My hope is that the combination of the practice assignments, these background lectures, the methods live talk, and the 3 live talks with the group presentations, you will have lots of opportunities to learn about the principles of cost-effectiveness analysis, to ask questions of each other and, of course, faculty, and to really have a good foundation for the techniques and principles of cost-effectiveness analysis that you can take with you to a variety of policy or research settings. A few administrative items to wrap up. I ask that you post public questions about course content or logistic on the Course Plus discussion forum. That allows all students to see the discussion and the faculty responses, and I think provides for the fairest dissemination of information about the class to everyone. The faculty will aim to respond to your questions within 24 hours after they've posted online. Assignments are due on the posted dates and times. I generally will not accept late assignments. However, I will make exceptions if you've given me more than 2 days advance notice for circumstances such as sickness or family or employer circumstances. And if I've granted you that prior approval, I will accept a late assignment without penalty. Now, of course, unusual circumstances happen where you won't be able to give me more than 2 days' notice. Email me. I will try to make reasonable adjustments. But bear in mind that to be fair to everyone in the class, I have to apply my exceptions equally, and so I have to be judicious about making those types of exceptions. If you have questions or concerns involving personal matters, or of course, you need to request an assignment extension, please email them to me, and I will try to be as prompt as possible in responding to you, certainly within 24 hours. I want you to enjoy the class and to learn from each other, so I am really emphasizing participation in the live talks, the online discussion forums, and being good learners with each other and from each other. Respecting the school's academic ethics code is essential to supporting a positive learning environment. And before you continue with the class, I just ask that you review the academic integrity statement posted on this website. Thanks very much for listening to this presentation. I'm really looking forward to having you in the class and to working with you this semester.